Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Faith, Lies, and Confusion. I am Godless Reggie. This is NJ. How are you doing today, NJ?
Hey, I'm NJ. I am doing fabulous. Godless Reggie, the born again atheist. I always keep meaning to ask you, what do you mean by born again atheist? I keep meaning to ask you, and I have yet to do so.
I mean, I was born an atheist, as all human beings were, right? Then I
Mhm,
got a doc.
mhm.
Then we got indoctrinated with whatever cultural bias or, you know, parental religions that were available to us. You know, um, then I woke up, right? Then I realized it was all bull, right? So I'm born again atheist, right? Because however you look at the situation, I definitely was born an atheist, and that can't even be argued, right? But
Right.
some people, claim to be from this bloodline or claim to be blah 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 blah. Okay, so one day I seen the light, hmm and now I'm a born again atheist, as I naturally should be.
Right. Which is way better than a born again Christian. I used to be atheist, but now I'm a born again Christian. That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't
It
even
does.
make sense.
It doesn't. And then technically, I'm gonna give it to you. Me telling you I'm a born again atheist technically does not make sense because I was only born once, right? But if we're gonna stay consistent with the shit, yeah, I was born again atheist. So this is actually a happy Father's Day edition of the show. I want to tell all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Rest in peace to my father. Happy Father's Day. All my uncles, my aunts, aunts, all my uncles, my brothers, my cousins,
You know some of
my
them aunts
nephews.
fit the
Okay.
bill. That's why you said that. That's why you
Oh
said
yeah.
that. You knew some of them aunts fit the bill. They was more manly than the men. You know that.
Listen, everybody in their family that is black has somebody in their family that's they aunt that either looks like Manny Fresh, Lil Boosie, or Jadakiss. I don't care what nobody say. Everybody do at least one. So I mean, I could go on. There's a couple different phenotypes of black auntie men, but those are the three most popular phenotypes. It's the Manny Fresh, it's the Jadakiss, and Boosie.
Yep. And to all the men in my life, the father of my children who are recent fathers, happy Father's Day. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your day. It's a 365-day job, but you get acknowledged on one day. Good looking out.
Respect, respect. Shout out to all the men that's out there. Well, extra shout out to the fathers out there that's still on child support. I feel you. I feel you. I did 18 the hard way. I feel you. Motherfuckers be like, oh, you don't want to have another kid? Is you fucking crazy? Are you, are, man, you crazy. Ain't no fucking way I'm gonna do 18 more years of that shit, hard labor. Right now, well,
And for,
why don't you just take care of the kid? It's not up to me. It's out of my
and for
hands.
all you mamas out there that with more than one baby daddy, for whatever reason, don't really care. Good looking out for making all these men daddies. Now give them the kids and let them be daddies. Just hand them over. They yours. Here they go. Give them back.
I remember this. That just reminds me of something. Right? I remember when my daughter was still a child and she was, young, maybe not real young, but 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, right? And I remember I used to have this mentality. No. This was before that. I had a mentality of that when she was like 1 or 2. But me and her mom had broke up when she was 2. So then my attitude, started to change. But I used to have an attitude that was like, "Oh, I ain't about to watch her while you go out or go fuck with somebody else." And then I started thinking to myself, and this is when I'm in the streets and all that shit, right? Then I started thinking, like, does that make any sense to you, Reggie? Who gives a fuck what she doing? As long as you can, you in your child's life, that's all that matters. Then I had got the attitude like, look, if you finna go out somewhere, I don't know why you're looking for babysitters and shit. Like, why are you doing that? I don't
Right.
work. I don't do shit. I said, I don't do a
Right.
motherfucking thing. I guess me, my mom, my sisters. I said, Like, go ahead. I don't give a fuck. I'd rather she be here with me while you out doing that. I don't give a fuck who you're gonna fuck either way. So I'd rather my daughter be out the way when you do it. And then I started thinking, like, I don't see why cats be doing that shit. I'm like, they fucking crazy.
Me either. I loved it when my mom dropped me off with my dad's people. You could be alone with my dad's people. They loved the fact that I was a child that entertained themselves and was happiest when alone. I only got in trouble when they decided that I needed a cousin to play with. It's, oh, well, we're gonna bring over your cousin to keep you company. How y'all get in trouble? What made y'all do this? And I'm looking at them. You gave me a cousin. This is what the cousin suggested. You
Hmm.
gonna let me go back to playing by myself now? Because I was fine by myself.
Right, right. But yeah, shout out to all the fathers out there. You know, whatever your circumstance might be, I feel you. But let's get back to the topic at hand. So today's show is called Unraveling the Echo of Time. This is actually a title and a whole idea that AJ came up with. Uh, so you can talk about it for a little bit, AJ. AJ, tell us where you got this from, man.
All righty,
All that.
all righty, all right. So a long time ago, right, I was working on some characters for a story I was doing, right? And I came across the fact that we split our time clock up by sections of 12. And then the whole thing with 12 months and our calendar and all of that. And so I started digging and found out that all of it, every last drop of it, is made up and actually throws our human bodies out of rhythm. And so I started looking into it, and now we're going to talk about it today on how the moon cycle is actually a natural 13 measured rhythm, and how our year is meant to be split up into 12 months, not 13 months, and how our time is all wrong, divided up into increments of 12. And that's what we're
So,
going to talk about today, but that's how the concept first got started. That's how it first got started.
so I honestly don't know, like anybody watching, I don't know where she's going with this because I haven't really like looked into it. But my personal thought has always, not always, but since I really looked at the way that the calendar is set up, I've always thought that it would make more fucking sense if you just look at some months, right? Some months got 30 days, some months got 31, right? So let's say half of the months got 31 days, right? So that's 3 extra days, right? And that's 6 months out the year, right? Now, how many got 30 days? The other six, right? So that's 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you take 12 and 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could easily make another month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought mathematically that it would make more sense for it to be 13 months at 28 days. Now, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but let's take a quick look at that. 28 times 13 equals 364. So I never understood that.
Right, right, right. So what they did was they broke it down, tore it apart during the what is called in Europe the Dark Ages. And why is these 1,000 years considered the Dark Ages? Well, according to the European history of that time, which I believe was somewhere around, don't make me lie, 400, 700 AD, according to the Gregorian calendar. According to the Gregorian calendar, it would be somewhere around 400, 700 AD. And what they did was basically completely rewrite history. Oh, sorry. They completely rewrote history. Uh, they and they took the studies of whom they considered great at the time, which I believe were people like Aristotle and other philosophical, theological thinkers of that day. Don't make me lie on which ones it was, because it's in my notes, and I'm not reading my notes right now. And
I, I
but
hate that
what
word.
they did was,
I hate that word.
what, notes or theological thinkers? Which one?
No, philosophical. I- It doesn't
We
improve,
agree.
right? These are human beings' thoughts. Philosophical. It doesn't prove anything.
Right. And to
And
prove that
that's
it
why I
doesn't
always hate
prove
that word.
anything,
Like when people be like, "Oh, we're going to have a philosophical argument."
philosophical. We're going to be philosophical. We're going to have philosophical, logical
Uh,
conversation. We're not debating. But anyway, so yeah,
and then
those
when you tell them
people,
no, oh, you don't want to have a conversation.
right. You don't want to have a conversation. Why don't you want to have a conversation? Are you not smart enough for a conversation? And so they took
Yeah,
these things,
conversation improves
and
nothing.
and when they came out of the dark ages into the Renaissance era, it that basically what they were trying to see is if the rest of the world was going to be able to convince Europe that the history that was now being taught from the pulpit by, I guess you would call them preachers, monks, whatever. I don't know. Don't care. Label them what you like. But the point is, they wanted to see if the rest of the world, even though they went on with history and all of their history is still written, would be able to convince the Europeans that what they are being taught from the pulpit is incorrect. And most of them said, we don't really care what's correct and what's incorrect. Is it time to plant our farms? Is the landlord going to put us out because our crops didn't come in? That was all they cared about. And I'm gonna be quiet so we can figure out where you are, and then we can kind of like make figure out how it goes together, where your mind is and where my mind is.
It's crazy. The last thing that you just said really struck to me because a lot of times when we have conversations about things, it all goes back to that. What mattered when it was time to farm, right? I just was telling a person this 2 days ago. Not that, but about the marriage situation. I'm sure I've explained that to you before, right? My
Yeah.
thoughts and my opinions are on that.
Yes, and I
Let it
I
go.
agree with your thoughts and opinions most of the time, because I I can't I, I can't picture how in 2025 there are women out there still arguing the point of marriage and how a sanctified union it is, and how it's a wonderful thing of love, and how your children should be made within the confines of this wonderful thing called love, within the confines of a marriage certificate by a church that none of them attend.
That none of them attend. That's number one, and that point is just completely bogus for one statistical fact. Who initiates most divorces? It's for the reasons
Woman,
right. It's for the reason that I said. The first reason is because at its pure roots, it is a form of female slavery. It is. It is a way, if you even look at it biblically, right? It everything sexually that a woman does that is not with her husband from the day she's born to the day she dies is a sin. The only way a man can sin sexually is if he has sex with a woman that belongs to a man. And the crime is not that he has sex with her. The crime is more thievery and disrespect to that man. Fuck every woman in the story. They not even on the same level as the man when it comes to respect or value, right? Who cares what happens to them? This is not my opinion, but this is the book. Who cares, right? And also, if a woman is married, right, to a man, and say something happens to him, say he dies, biblically, she's supposed to fuck his brother too. Biblically. And we've even
But
seen stories of the man that was the brother that refused to impregnate her, and he got punished because he nutted on the floor.
because he was like, I don't want my brother's wife. I saw what she did to my brother. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Maybe that was his point, or maybe he felt wrong because that was his brother. But either way, how is that right? How can a woman accept that? Like when I talk to women and when we talk about religion, right, and we getting off topic, right? We're getting way off topic. But I have to say this, right? Whenever I talk to women, I'm more critical of them. I'm way more critical of them for two reasons, right? And one does not outweigh the other, right? And what I'm going to say, the reason why I'm more critical of women when it comes to religion is because what we all were just said, right? Just subservient in the situation, right? And two, I was raised by my mom, right? So I know that men are not naturally smarter than women. I know that. Statistics show that we don't live longer than you, right? And in my community, most times we don't got more money than you, unless we adding NFL and NBA players into this equation or whatever professional people. If we add them into the equation, then yeah. But if you just take the millionaires out of the situation, man, black men don't really got more money than women. So my thing is this: if you know all that, right? You know what the book say. You know you gonna outlive the motherfucker, right? You know you got more money than the motherfucker, right? Where can he lead you? Where? And you know he's not smarter than you naturally. And the book says he is. And stats say he's not. So I'm just like, why the fuck do y'all believe this shit? Why the fuck did you believe this shit? It's crazy. It don't benefit you in no way. It
Not
don't.
only how do you believe it and it doesn't benefit you, but how do you bring yourself to speak to the next generation of women and tell them that they should follow the lead that you led?
That's stupidity. It's crazy. How can you think another species is smarter than you? How can you think that? And how can you think that God wants you to listen to what a man say? And especially when you just look at the men that you know. Gotta be crazy.
Well,
You got to be crazy.
when you when you take 1,000 years of time and through the clergy take slowly but surely all of the family's libraries. Like imagine going through Europe and you are you've gotten rid of the Rome. You've gotten rid of Rome. Rome is gone. Rome doesn't exist anymore, and it has reformulated itself into the church. And then it spends the next 1,000 years going through Europe, slowly but surely, one family at a time, uh, borrowing their library. This is what they did. They borrowed the family library. And they said, we'll give it back to you once our priests have gone through it, our monks have gone through it, our scholars have gone through it and decided what information needs to be shared for the next 1,000 years. And when we get done doing that, we're going to return your books to you. Well, think about it. Who's still left in the family after 1,000 years? Is there any reason to return the property that you borrowed?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Nope.
There's
Nope.
no reason. So they never returned the books, and they just sitting in Rome, in the Vatican's very big library, whereas now all we have, all the rest of everybody has from that 1,000 years of what they call the Dark Ages, between Rome reformulating itself in the church.
Mm-hmm. Because that's all they
And
did.
that's all they did. They
Mm-hmm.
just reformulated themselves. It's like, okay, we're gonna shut down. We're not gonna call ourselves Rome anymore. We're not gonna have kings and all of that shit. Nope. we're going to be holy and sanctified. We're going to start this thing. We're going to call it the Church of Rome. And we're going to slowly but surely take all of the benefactors of the Church of Rome and marry their children very strategically around us throughout the bloodline so that all of their children will be raised up believing in this Church of Rome or the Catholic Church or whatever the hell they first started calling it
Mm-hmm.
way back when they did this. And and it was brilliant. I have to admit it was brilliant. I got to admit it was brilliant. I ain't gonna lie. I thought about doing it with Caucasians. Just put a ball gag in their mouth, not let them speak, read, or understand anything for 1,000 years, and then after 1,000 years, just be like, okay, now we're gonna tell you what we want you to know about yourself. And we have decided all we want you to know about yourself is your only job here is to be quiet and go to work. That's all we need you to do. Be quiet and go to work. That's it.
That's what they did to us in slavery, right? They
I know.
strategically put certain ones in the house that were their relatives, right? You controlled them. You can stay in the house because you're better than them, right? You talk to them, right? You deal
Yep.
with them,
Go ahead, Stephen.
right?
Stephen.
Right,
Keep them
right,
Negroes in line,
right.
Stephen.
And then when they run, you're gonna be the one to catch them because they'll listen to you,
Right.
but you're not like them.
Right.
You're not
Uncle,
us,
I don't want to
but you're
be on
not
the
them.
plantation no
Right?
more.
It's the
Girl,
same
you
thing.
you gonna get me kicked out the big house. Get your ass back here on the plantation.
That's what they did in DR too. The exact thing they did in DR, and that's why
Yep.
they think that they're different than them. You're not. You're just a house slave. And when the
Yep.
sugar
Yep.
cane production left from you, right? They let you get on the horse with them, right? Just like when you watch Django, I ain't never seen no nag on a horse. Okay, well there they kind of treated them the same. Just as long as you don't mess with them niggas. You feel me? So it's a mental game, and it's crazy that people can be brainwashed. I get it though. I get it because when you live in those times, right, and you live under those conditions, right, it's kind of hard to walk away from whatever little privilege you get. You feel me? It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. You ain't gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. You're not.
But
Who's
imagine
gonna do it?
being one of
Who's
the
gonna go out there?
families. Imagine being one of the families around all of that for 1,000 years. You've heard about this place, you know, over there called Europe, and you've heard that they're in dark ages. But imagine one day they send some representatives to your country and they're like, hey, um, we heard that you got some extra royal members and we need some royal blood. So we was thinking if you have some eligible bachelors and women that maybe you would send them over here to our country to bring your royal blood. And they were like, well, you guys look okay. The representatives you said look and sound respectable. All right, well we're gonna send about 20 of them because we got some extra kids. We got some extra kids. We don't know what to do with all this royal blood. We'd have made too many of them. So we're gonna send about 20 of them. And then you start getting letters written home by them, like, oh my God, these people are disgusting. They stink. They live in filth. They're not worth breeding with. You should see the diseases on them. It's in their face. It's in their hair. They're full of diseases. Like, come get me, bring me back home. And they're like, oh no, no, you can't come home. You're stuck with the lot that you've been given. Good luck. That's how it was in the North and the South. It's like, well, they're going to start this great new spot down south, and we need some people to go down there and help with the planting, because the people that's down there don't know how to grow this crop from up north that we're trying to grow down south. And you be like, you know what? I'm okay up here up north, but I want to see some new scenery. I want to see some new towns and shit. Okay, I'm newly widowed. Let me pack my baby up and go on down here. And then find out that you can't leave. Then find out that all new children that you've had since that child that you brought with you can't leave. Even if you and your first child that you brought with you want to leave, you can't take the rest of them with you. They got to
Mm-hmm.
stay.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this centered around time and splitting up time and seeing if they can convince human beings to forget about an entire block of what they call time and history, and see if they can convince you that the new characters that they put into that space and time and history actually exist. And they
Ron
don't.
DeSantis. Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, amen. Facts,
The
facts,
United
facts,
States.
facts.
It never
Matter of fact,
happens.
wait a minute,
Yeah.
wait a minute. My favorite is seeing black people talk
Mm-hmm.
about the Constitution of America and try to uphold the Constitution of America and the rules of the Constitution of America. And I'd be like, Stephen, you you fighting for Massa. That's Massa's document. That document ain't for the rest of us. Why
Right,
is you trying to
th-
get everybody to follow the rules of Massa?
because you 3/5. So what you talking about? You don't got a
Right.
whole vote. If you going by what the Constitution say, right? You don't have a whole vote. So stop it.
Right, right. And they don't like the fact that the women are voting. And they want to take it back to the original documentation. You had to be a land owning, which meant you owned land that the Europeans said was part of the 13 colonies. So you had to own land, be Caucasian, be a male. Didn't say you had to be smart, didn't say you had to be literate, didn't even say that you had to be doing something with the land that you own. Just that you owned it, you was Caucasian, sign here, you're now an American, you run this whole country. Don't let nobody tell you different, because they don't own no land.
That was stolen.
Right.
And they're doing the same thing now. It's no different. They're trying to change the voting laws so it'd be one vote per family. Oh, we got to bring the family back. You got to get everybody back in the church. It's a manipulation plot to make things
Yep.
go a certain way, right? When they say make America great again, that's what they're saying to you. Let's get back to slavery. Let's put these black people back to work, right? Let's put these women in their place because they're out of pocket. And again, to your point, I can't stand when a black person does it. I just posted something on Facebook, right? Uh, hold on. I don't want to misquote. I don't want to misquote. So let me correct myself as to what his position is, right? But I'm gonna speak on him, and I'm gonna give him a little bit of coverage here. He actually, in my opinion, should probably pay me for this, but I'm gonna give him a little bit of coverage because this is what we call coonage right here, right? And I titled it coonage. So he is okay. Give me a second. He's a politician. Let's just say that. My phone's acting crazy, but he's a politician and he's a black man. He's very preachy. I would make a guess and say that he probably used to be in the ministry at some point. He's an elderly gentleman, 60-ish, 70-ish, right? Uh, he has an afro on the side, so clean on the top type guy. And his premise is that he wants to put it into law that no nurse should wear braids. He's like, yep, they're trying to give people IVs and you're choking people out with your braids all in their mouth and shit. The fuck
What
are you
the
talking
hell?
about, dude? You fucking coon? What are you talking about? Because if that's your point, right? No braids, which is anti-African, by the way, anti-Black American, by the way, right? Um, you can't do that because, you know, other races of people have long hair as well. Some real, some fake. I'm not, pinpointing any, particular situation, but there are plenty of people with long hair in other circumstances. For instance, you have dreads. For instance, there's plenty of white women with long ponytails that's hanging down and things like that. Um, why are you not correlating that with that? Because if a person's braids, you know, with extensions, because what he stated was horsehair, needs to stay on horses, which is
Yeah, yeah,
ignorant,
yeah.
which is ignorance, because that's not where they get it from. It's not real hair, synthetic, right? But
Right, right.
why are you trying to regulate what a woman can do, and why are you trying to regulate what black people can do, right? And why do people listen to you? And it's because you come from a church background. And when we talk about the church, it's 100% anti-African. And what I mean by that, it's just from the roots. Okay. So let's say, you're supposed to dress a particular way, right? Women are supposed to be covered up, not supposed to be revealing, wearing long dresses, which is a contradiction in itself, but that's a different story. But, you're supposed to be dressed from head to toe. These people are supposed to be wearing these suits and shit like that. Why does any black person not see that that comes directly from white people? It's so crystal clear. It's crystal clear. African people don't dress like that. And the reason why they don't dress like that is because it's too fucking hot. Now, when you go to particular countries in Africa in these days that have been colonized, which all of them have been, right? But if you go to places where they're primarily Christian or primarily Muslim, they are very much so covered up, right? For example, Nigeria, right? You should see the clothes that they wear. And even the ones that leave religion, they still think that it's, women are supposed to be presentable in a certain way, right? Not realizing that this comes from white people. To make it make sense to you even more, right? Okay, so body shaming comes from them as well. Think about it. Who is more likely to dress from head to toe, button all the way up like this? A person from a mostly warm continent, and Africa's not all hot, but a continent that's primarily warm by the equator, or one that's cold? It's
Mm.
common sense. It's common sense. You can look at a lot of tribes, and it's very easy for me to pinpoint one, and this is my favorite example, right? For personal reasons, right? But I like to use the Zulu tribe for example. Look at the way that the traditional women dress. Look. And now I want to ask any man that actually is taking the time to look these up. Some women too. Right? Okay, so if you're interested in these women, right? As I am, why would you want to take them out of their natural element, right? Where you can see exactly what you're getting yourself into, right? Versus, and this is from a black perspective. I want you to think from, right? From that to a European aspect, dress head to toe. I'm gonna keep them like that, right? Let's keep going with this, right? So now, if people, are naturally from a continent where they don't have to wear a lot of material and a lot of clothing, right? That makes me believe that perversion literally comes from people wanting to see something that they don't know as their, they're trying to get in to figure out what's going on here. So if you ask me, it has to come from a person that don't know what a woman got. And it also tells me that when men say things like, oh, well, a woman is more likely to be raped if she has something revealing on, I know that's not true. And I also know that that is a man dictating the whole scenario, because I had to go to anger management before, and it taught me something about myself, right? It taught me about jealousy. A lot of things happen to people in life out of pure jealousy. If a man really, 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 really is interested in you and really, really likes you, and especially if it's because of your body, he wants you to put your clothes on and cover that up, even though he likes you because what he's seen, because he's jealous. Period. So if you take all that in consideration, everything I said is nothing but jealous people from a colder continent manipulating you to do what the fuck they want and to act like their ass. The second you stop acting like them, you're incorrect. I can keep going with it. Oh, you guys talk so ghetto. You don't speak properly. Am I supposed to? What you're saying is I don't talk like a white person. That's what you're saying.
But I
But I
can if you
see it
want me
differently.
to. But
Right.
but I don't know how you would want me to.
Mhm,
Have you had conversation with Caucasians?
mhm.
It's not always thrilling. It's not always thrilling.
Right. But I just see the little colonial tricks now. See, when I was younger, I didn't see it. I didn't fucking see it. And the reason why is because I was religious. When you're religious, there's a lot of things you don't fucking see. You just you don't see it. You don't see
You
it. But
would have
when
hated me having me in grade school next to you, because I would have pointed it out to you. That's why teachers
Mhm,
always got mad at me, because when they would say some underhanded bullshit to students, I was that student passing the note, going, "She just
mhm,
called you," or
mhm,
are you going to tell your mama what they said? Because I'm a witness. I'll be your witness. They said that. Are you going to tell your mom? You need to tell your mom. If you don't want to tell
mhm,
your mom, I'll tell my mom. I ain't got no problem with it. And you
mhm,
know what? One time there was actually a student who was like, "Nah, I don't want to tell my mom." I told my mom. My mom came down to that school and gave that science teacher a whole new butthole, man. Whole new butthole. But at the same time, though, he came up with a whole new disrespectful name for my legs because I'm bow legged. So he started calling me pliers or parentheses. So I started coming up with little nicknames for him. And then he couldn't understand why other students in his other classes knew the nicknames that I was giving him. I was spreading them nicknames like there was nobody's business.
Uh, so women, take this one too. Remember this one. Whenever a man, right, tells you you're a hoe, you're a slut, anything like that, there's something else that's going on. I don't know if you realize it, right? But he's manipulating you, or he's attempting to manipulate you. Whenever a man says, "Oh, I don't want, people hanging around sexy red, my girl listening to that shit," he's manipulating you. He's manipulating you to shame you for your sexual behavior while simultaneously doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. And that's why I then came up with the whole concept that people be like, "Oh, I don't like hoes." I do. Because the second I stop doing that is I'm trying to control what the fuck they do while simultaneously telling them, "Oh, you better be the best at sex, or I don't want to fuck with you." It's fucking
Right.
stupid. It's fucking stupid. Don't make no sense.
So wait a minute, wait a minute. Let me see if I got this straight. if if a religious man finds a good woman and it turns out that she knows more tricks than him in the bedroom, is he really going to call her a hoe?
Yep.
Because she's doing the tricks for him, but she's
hmm
doing the tricks for him.
I'm not gonna reference this person, but this person told me that they were when they were married that they were afraid to initiate sex even if they really wanted it because they didn't want their husband to get mad. I said, that is the dumbest shit I ever heard. And the reason why it's dumb, I'm gonna tell you, and I hope men really paying attention to this. This is why it's dumb. Okay. It's not hard. I mean, it's not easy for us to have sex now. We gotta try. I don't give a fuck how fine nigga you think you is. Right? You got to put effort into this shit. You know it's not easy. Any man can tell you it's not the easiest thing. Some of them you gotta play nice. Some of them you gotta take them out. Some of them you might have to give them some money. Some of them you may have to go to church with. Some of them you may have to meet their whole family. There's all listen. A man will go to the greatest extents if he really wants to have sex with a woman. I'm telling you, he will do it, right? So why the fuck, when you in a relationship with somebody, or even if you're not, if a female just like, you know what, what's up? What you trying to do? Why would you get mad? She making it simple for your ass.
I would make it real simple. After school, my mama don't hit the front door till 5 o'clock. I'm usually home by 3:15.
I don't get that.
Oh, you brought the whole crew with you? Oh, you must have just wanted to sit on the porch and talk. No, I thought we was going. Oh no, no, you don't bring the whole crew with you if that was your intent. That was not your intent. You wanted to sit here and just chill, have lemonade on the porch, cause you wasn't coming to meet me with the whole crew.
And this is even with that person's husband. They was scared because they would think that, something's wrong with this, and if this person wanted to, like, bring something into the bedroom, not a person, but want to bring something to the bedroom, that this person would, get upset and try to veto it. And I'm just like, man, this shit is fucking crazy.
I went
Like,
I went to watch football at my cousin's house, and I got mad for my cousin's wife, and she don't even like me. But he had company in there that was, like, why your wife doing that? Why your wife say that? Why your wife this? And I was like, why is you so fascinated with my cousin's wife? Why you got so
right.
many questions about what she doing in her home where you are sitting having free alcohol and good football? What is your problem? And like my cousin's eyes got so big because how dare I talk to one of his boys like that? But I wasn't raised around his boys. I don't give a fuck about them. They don't make me no never mind.
Even if you was, so fucking what?
And and his wife didn't know whether she should take my side because it was her home that she was being disrespected in, or she should take her husband's side, which is don't defend me. That's my husband's job. And I'm looking at both of them like, you know what? I
This
need to
shit
find
crazy.
someplace else to watch my football. I can't watch
Oh yeah.
football with y'all on Sunday. And I
I'm
did.
like,
I found someplace else to watch my football. I ain't go back over
I'm like, bitch, you a sellout and would have left.
there. Or wait a minute. How about the time a woman came to my house to visit my roommate? We was all in the living room, chilling. The sticks is going around, the alcohol is pouring, the music is blaring. We having a good time. So suddenly out of nowhere, she's like, up, let me get home to my mini me. I was like, oh, don't worry, your mini me ain't gonna think that you out here hoeing if you stay out past midnight. And next thing I know, this woman starts yelling, hollering, and screaming for my roommate to come get their friend. How dare I speak to them like this? Calling her a hoe. I was like, I didn't call you a hoe. I don't know what you're talking about. But what got me pissed off and what ended the roommate situation was she my roommate did what she said and came at me because of what she misunderstood in my words. I was like, "Oh, see, you got to go too, because you can't entertain your company here if you gonna jump me when your company get upset. This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work." So after that moment, whenever they had company, I would disappear in my room. I'm like, "Fuck it, I don't want to hang out with your company." They be
Man, that
knocking
shit
on the door.
crazy.
You coming out? You coming out? Nope. Mm-mm. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun. I'm gonna stay right here reading a book.
I feel you. I'm gonna do a little bit of reading on unraveling the echo of time. This is according to Chat GPT. So the 12-fold illusion is a term that may refer to different concepts depending on the concept, philosophical, psychological, spiritual, or artistic? Could clearly, I mean, could you clarify what you're referring to? Okay, this is asking me a question, right? So, Buddhism, the 12 links of dependent origination, the 12 nidanas, and Buddhist philosophy, the concept of independent origination, Pitaka Sumappada describes the chain of casuality that leads to suffering, which is dukkha. There are 12 links, and sometimes this whole process is referred to as an illusion because it keeps being trapped in samsara, the cycle of rebirth and suffering. The 12 are ignorance, volivation formations, consciousness, name and form, sixth sense basis, contact, feeling, craving, clinging, becoming, birth, aging, and death. The illusion is in mistaking this process for reality when in fact it is impermanent and conditioned. Modern interpretation, some contemporary spiritual or physiological, excuse me, philosophical frameworks, New Age theosophy or systems influenced by some of these words are very hard to pronounce, y'all. Gurdjieffs, Steiner, or Jung might use 12-fold illusion as a poetic or symbolic term, perhaps pointing to 12 ARCHETYPES veils or illusions that obscure truth or enlightenment. Examples: 12 astrological signs as symbols, illusions, or ego identity, 12 chakras in extended models beyond the common seven chakra system, each representing different dimensions of human illusion or transcendence. Art or fiction. It could also be the title of a book, painting, or conceptual work that you're referencing, perhaps a story involving 12 levels of illusion, perception, or reality. If it's from a fictional or artistic context, which examples are graphic, novel, film, game, I can look it up if you want. That's just Chat GPT answering some of the questions, well, asking me some questions. But some of the things that it was talking about, I don't really think that it described very well. Um, so I'm gonna play a video because I don't think me reading that, I really just didn't learn anything from reading that, except
Right,
for Hinduism, maybe.
right. It's like, oh,
So give me
let's mention a religion. Why? It has
right,
nothing to do with why. Nothing.
nothing, and I didn't ask it anything about religion, so I don't know like why it was saying that. But I think that's just another case that I tell people all the time that even Chat GPT is not 100% accurate. It's not. It's a search engine. It could be used to prove things, but it's you have to ask it in a certain way, and also it's from whoever inputted the information's perspective. I'll give a person an example. I asked Chat GPT before where reggaeton was created, and it said Puerto Rico. That is not true. It's not true. The answer is Panama. And then when I told it that it's not true, then it was like, "Oh yeah, you right, blah blah blah," and all this other shit. Well, if you knew that from the beginning, motherfucker, why didn't you say that? But I guess the system probably thought the same thing about me. But I don't make the claim to have all the answers. But let me play this and let's speed it up a little bit.
Constantly. What time is it? I'm running out of time, or how it just seems to vanish. I mean, it's not something you can touch or see. Right. And even with all the amazing science we have, defining it a zillion years ago, it still feels, well, kind of elusive. That's the fascinating puzzle we're digging in today. Yeah. We've looked at some really thought-provoking material that offers a totally different perspective on it all. Okay. It asks us to think. Theory. And right from the start, it makes a pretty bold claim. Kind of surprising. It really does. Motion theory suggests that. Okay, let's unpack this. So, motion theory says time isn't a thing or a dimension. election. But the local resolution set, could you maybe break that down for us? So instead of like a big universal clock ticking away, you're saying it's more about how fast things change and organize themselves, but locally in a specific place.
Precisely. At its core, it means our sense of time comes from how motion organizes itself into the patterns we see everywhere.
Okay.
The universe isn't still, right?
Yeah.
It forms structured loop like that. Take an atom, for instance. It's not a solid ball. It's particles whizzing around. Right?
Yeah.
And its stability, why it holds together, comes from those particles moving in synchronized loops.
Okay.
The theory argues these motion loops, it's not just a metaphor.
Right. I can sort of picture that for tiny stuff, but connecting, as passing feels like a leap.
Here's what gets really interesting. It's sync drift. Yeah. Motion theory basically says no motion in sync forever.
Nothing.
There's a tendency for these loops to just gradually drift out of sync with everything around them.
Like losing the beat.
Kind of, yeah. This tiny desynchronization, they call it a phase shift. Think of it like a tiny, tiny lag building up in their rhythm.
Okay.
That subtle drift, the sync drift, over longer periods. Well, that's what the theory suggests aging is.
So wait, my laptop getting slower isn't just old tech. It could be partly. Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, the theory suggests this sync drift is a fundamental aspect of why things change and degrade over time. It's a really different lens.
It really is. So if everything has these motion loops, does that mean everything has its own sort of time, its own
I'm gonna pause it right there for a second. I wish this video had faces that you could see, because it's very fucking boring, and it's hard for me personally to stay on track with them because I don't see nobody. My mind is wandering like a motherfucker while this shit is playing. What's your take on the NJ? I got another video, but I'm gonna definitely change this one because it's boring as fuck.
No, I was sitting there going, the way that they're trying to skew it, they're still trying to make it seem as though the 12-hour cut up is okay. No. We are all fucked up mentally and physically because of this concept of time they're trying to shove down everybody's throat. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop that video. I don't want to watch that anymore. Do you want to watch yours that you had?
To a deep slumber, and when it awoke, the Vatican held the reins of power. But what truly happened during the Dark Ages? And who doesn't want you to ever know the truth? 1,000 years, that is the span of time historians call the Dark Ages, from the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 to Europe's awakening in the Renaissance. But if you turn back the pages of history, the first thing you sense is not darkness, but emptiness. A chilling void where the great shifts in society, culture, war, and science seem to have vanished entirely from the timeline. We are told this era was steeped in chaos, ignorance, and superstition. That no one created, no meaningful achievements emerged. But have you ever asked yourself, how could that possibly happen? For nearly a millennium, on a continent that once gave birth to brilliant minds like Aristotle, Archimedes, and Cicero. And more importantly, who labeled it the Dark Ages in the first place? No one other than the Church, or more precisely, those who seized control of knowledge, books, and the collective memory of a fallen civilization. When Rome collapsed and the secular world crumbled, the Vatican, in its early form as the Christian Church, rose like the lone beacon still standing. But the light it cast, was it truly meant to illuminate the way, or simply to blind the eyes? Entire libraries, schools, and research centers of the ancient world were burned or cleansed in the name of faith. Thousands of manuscripts in Greek, secular Latin, and Coptic quietly disappeared from the map of knowledge. Only those texts painstakingly copied into doctrinal Latin, a language accessible only to specially trained monks, were allowed to survive. And those surviving texts were kept nowhere else but within the monasteries, churches, and ultimately, the Vatican's secret archives. No secular power remained strong enough to resist. No independent scholarly system existed to verify the truth. For hundreds of years, what Europeans knew of their past was only what the Vatican allowed them to know, So was the Dark Ages truly an era of human backwardness? Or was it a manufactured fog designed to conceal something deeper, something darker? Perhaps history was not lost, merely sealed away. And if that is the case, the question is no longer what happened, but who wants you to never know that it happened at all? Tonight, let's drift together with bedtime history into the flow of stories that have never been fully told, because perhaps within those forgotten fragments, we might just rediscover a piece of the truth about history, about the world, and about ourselves. The year was 476. It is the moment modern history books mark as the death knell of the Western Roman Empire. A child of royal blood, Romulus Augustulus was deposed by a barbarian general named Odoacer. An empire that had lasted for centuries vanished after a bloodless coup. This event, according to historians today, signals the start of the Dark Ages. Yet the strange thing is this: no one living at that time called it a collapse. No funeral bells rang out from the Roman Forum. There was no grand funeral for an empire that had once conquered nearly the entire Western world. And, more unsettling still, no one truly recorded in detail what happened next. You would think such a monumental event would leave behind a clear trail in history, documents, chronicles, memoirs, at the very least letters or first-hand accounts. But, curiously, the deeper you dig from the 5th to the 8th century, the denser the fog becomes. Historical records grow fragmented and hazy, sometimes reduced to mere brief notes from monks written centuries later. It's as if the entire continent had fallen into a deep sleep, or someone wished it to appear that way. And then one name begins to surface again and again. Not an emperor, not a scholar, but the Church. The moment Rome ceased to be a political center, it became the spiritual heart of a new emerging world. The Church, once a small persecuted sect, now wielded a kind of power the Caesars themselves had only dreamed of, the power to govern human souls and their collective memory. Who preserved history during this era? Not the schools, they had been dissolved, not the intellectual class. They had fled, been silenced, or killed. It was the Catholic monastic orders, monks who copied religious texts within their monasteries, translated ancient works, and decided what was worthy of preservation. Stories, victories, defeats, all were filtered through a theological lens. Even many of the earliest popes in the post-Roman period, such as Pope Felix III, Gelasius I, or Hormisdas, appear with roles that remain unclear. Did they truly exist as recorded? Or were they symbolic creations of a time left largely unverified? More striking still, between roughly 500 and 800, Europe's historical record grows so thin, it seems the entire continent was erased from the map of history. Meanwhile, in the Middle East and Asia, records continued to flourish, detailed and reliable. Why was it only Europe that entered a blank void lasting 3 centuries? The question is not simply what happened, but rather what was kept, and who had the authority to decide. Perhaps the fall of Rome was not an end at all, but the beginning of a new order, one where power no longer belonged to warriors on the battlefield, but to those who shaped history from the shadows. If you look at the historical landscape of Europe from the 5th to the 10th century, you won't see the colors of blood, fire, or breakthrough. Instead, you'll find a thin layer of dust covering everything, from the great structures that once stood to the very memory of its people. There are no clearly documented major wars, no scientific discoveries, no grand architectural achievements emerging from this period. It's as if the entire continent had slipped into a deep hibernation. But this was no natural sleep. It was as if someone had thrown a heavy blanket over Europe, blocking the light and erasing memory. Even cities that once thrived, Milan, Lyon, Cologne, left behind no new trace for centuries, no philosophical manuscripts, no paintings, no new maps, and strangest of all, no stories. Those who lived through that era, if they did, left no account, or their voices were erased by unseen hands. Meanwhile, if you glanced toward China during the Sui and Tang dynasties, it was a golden age. Block printing was invented, musical instruments evolved, and poetry reached new heights with masters like Li Bai and Du Fu. Further west in the Arab world, science flourished. The astronomer Al-Khwarizmi laid the foundations of algebra, the first public hospitals were established, and the Library of Baghdad held hundreds of thousands of ancient manuscripts. And Europe? Europe seemed unaware of gears, astronomy, or even the compass. In a world where the East was ablaze with light, the West appeared to have been drained of its memory. Who stood to gain from this? The answer lies not beyond Europe, but within it. And it had been there all along, quiet, unwavering, and growing ever stronger. The Church. When the people believed they were living through an age of darkness, when they were taught that their ancestors had been lost to superstition and ignorance, they would not question, they would not doubt the one truth preached from the pulpit, the word of God, spoken through the mouths of priests. They would not seek knowledge because books no longer existed. They would not explore because any pursuit of knowledge was deemed heresy. The Vatican didn't need to force compliance through violence. They only needed to set one definition: darkness, and let fear do the rest. In a world without war, without debate, without invention, one might assume that nothing happened. But sometimes the most prolonged silence is the clearest sign of a hidden crime, the erasure of an entire chapter of human history. History is not merely what happened, it is what has been told. And when the only voices left to tell the story belong to men in clerical robes, that story will reflect not an objective truth, but a carefully chosen one. After the fall of Rome, nearly
Ha! Ha!
the entire secular scholarly network of Europe collapsed. Public libraries were abandoned, secular schools closed their doors, scholars, if they survived, either withdrew into isolation or bowed to the church in order to continue their work. In such a climate, the only places where manuscripts were still copied and preserved were within monasteries, hidden behind stone walls where the light of knowledge was allowed to filter through only narrow slits under strict supervision. But here lies a detail few notice. Ancient Roman and Greek texts were not simply copied word for word. They were rewritten in ecclesiastical Latin, a variant of the language shaped by theology, narrower in meaning, harder to understand, and accessible only to a specially trained clerical elite. While classical Latin had once served the realms of law, literature, and science, Church Latin became the key
That's
that
some
locked away
bullshit.
the treasure of human knowledge. And the consequences?
Did you catch that? Did you catch it? Did
That's
you catch
that's
it?
definitely some. Yeah, that's definitely some bullshit. That's definitely I don't I don't like that. It just shows another way of trying to confuse the situation on purpose. Um, and that pretty much sums up Catholicism, in my opinion, because from my understanding, Catholicism from the beginning and even somewhat till today is based on um, the priest interpreting and reading the Bible directly to you, and you not reading it for yourself. And I think this is part of the well, fuck, I know that's the reason why, is because they put it in a situation, in a text that the average person cannot understand for that reason. So I don't see how people can simultaneously make the claim, I'm not the god of confusion. Yes, the fuck it is.
Woo! Yes, definitely the god of confusion. Let me just real quick. Oh, you bastard. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong one. Wrong one. I thought I had lost it. But anyway, the point is, yesterday, while going through the TikTok streets, everybody's confused. Even the atheists are confused at this point. At this point. At this point. I think
Why?
that's how we got I think
Why
that's how
would?
we got some atheists going through saying that they are a born again Christian because they couldn't make sense of the atheist world because they weren't willing to do their homework on prime videos like this on YouTube. I guess, but this YouTube video says it's got a 2.4K likes. So I would like to believe that that's 2,000 people in the world that have seen the video. They
Nothing.
understand.
That ain't that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing.
I know.
That's 2,800 people out of billions. Yeah.
What are they watching these days? Like, what are we watching that we can't get the hint? What are we watching? What are we paying attention to?
I,
How do we enlighten people that do not
I
wish to
agree with
be
you.
enlightened?
Uh, that's what you listen. You just hit it dead on, right? They don't wish to be enlightened. Okay, so I've never heard this before, right? But there's plenty of other things that I know, that can disprove the religions that we have on hand, right? But when you show them these things that are facts, like the Yahweh shit, there's so many ways to disprove that, right? When you
Yeah,
show them the book, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and you can prove to them that the Epic of Gilgamesh is older than this book, they still are going to correlate with Yahweh being God. when you can see that Yahweh in his book is just a fucking character. They don't want to hear it. It's their whole emotional foundation. And you have to understand that, right? When you wholeheartedly believe that this shit is true, when you see things that are facts, you just have no choice but dismiss them, right?
But where
And
is the money in holding these lies to be true? Where is the money? Because it's not the little people getting the money. It's the pastors. It's the, I don't know, whoever sells the church the grounds that they want to build this whatever it is on. Like where I don't know how to word the question. I really don't. I
that's
really don't.
because you see shit from the outside now. The person on the inside is going to tell you that the church, oh, what the church does, it helps the community, right? And they believe that. They believe it because
I'd be like,
they,
where is this church? We can go through the books together. Show me where they're helping the community.
right. They don't, even when you tell them that point, right? All they see is what the church then gave to a person. They don't realize that you giving it right back to the fucking person you got it from, right? Until you just think for 1 second, if what I just said is not true, where did this money come from to pay for these little food giveaways and shit? There's two places: donations, because the food is expired, which is free. And the only other logical explanation is the money came from the people he asked it from. So why do you think that he's doing something other than transferring the money? And I'm being very generous with that statement, transferring, right? Because the another word for that is pimp. Because if you really dig into the mind of a pimp, what he's saying, fuck all the other stuff he says, what he's convincing these women is that he knows what's best to do with the money. You can't have the money because you're a dumb bitch and you don't know what to do with it. Your profession is sucking dick and getting fucked. That's what you know how to do. And you know how to manipulate people to get the money from them. But even though I'm not there, I'm your protection. And you can't have none of the money. And I'm gonna make sure you're taken care of, your kids taken care of, your mama's, whatever it is your heart desires. And they think the game is he's taking care of me. No, bitch. You're taking care of yourself. And he's using
Right,
you.
that part right there.
Right?
I was taking care of
So
myself. Husband number one. Yes, right. He took all
right.
the money.
So that's
I
what it
went to
is.
work 40 hours a week. I had to work specifically 10 hours overtime every week just for me and the kids to go have fun. That was just me and the kids going to have fun. I needed 10 hours of overtime to be able to afford gas money to take them to wherever the fun was located, ticket money if there was an entry fee. They were going to want to eat while we were out because I guarantee you that even though they just ate before they left their house, they are now starving if they see or smell anything appealing while we are out. So that's going to cost me money.
Right.
But their dad had me his official whore. I did everything freaky and nasty in the bedroom. I went to work for 40 hours. I worked 10 hours overtime for fun. And everything that I gave that man was supposed to be taking care of me and the children. But for some reason, when all the bill collectors started repoing shit and asking for their shit back, and I said, what happened to the money that I gave you for me and the children's care? I was, there you go. That's exactly
Wasn't
the
me.
reply. Right. And, and even when we stood before the judge years later, we talking like we had years to get all of these things worked out amongst ourselves. Couldn't do it. The church, his family couldn't make me understand where the money went. His only reply was shrugged shoulders. So we went
Mm-hmm.
before a judge, and the judge asked this man, where did the money go? And he told the judge, towards the bills. And I got in trouble for jumping in at that particular part of the conversation and going, what bills did you pay? Because they took the car, they took the house. What bills did you pay? And the judge got mad at me and told me that I needed to behave myself in their courtroom.
The judge, I would have to say the judge is right. You got to keep your composure, but your point is still intact. Where's the money, right? So that brings me back to my original point. What do you need these people for? We fuck preaching, fuck pimping and horn, ladies. What you need me for? Nothing. What I need you for? Nothing. We're equal. I don't need you. You don't need me, right? Only that book is making you believe that. That's the only thing that's doing. It's just a fucking illusion, right? So let's keep it real. We only need each other for entertainment value.
Right. And if I find the right entertainment, I can call them and judge from their location to my location. We can pick a halfway point in between. That's the whole point is get the entertainment and go back to our happy lives.
To our
No
happy
need,
lives. Till next time.
no
Right.
disruption, no dismay. Happy memories bring a smile when you think about it. Oh, that was such
Right.
a beautiful occasion. That was nice. That was
Right.
nice. And
Right.
matter of fact, you might think about it and think about it to the point where you be like, you know what, I'm gonna call that same individual.
I'm gonna do
Or
it again.
you might be like, you know what? Fuck that. That was good. That was good. That was good. But let me not get stuck on just one. Let me go find the next one. Next.
Exactly. See, once you make it more than that, it's a problem because now you got two different minds, right? Going different places. You think things are supposed to go one way, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you're wrong, right? But I think something else. We're individuals, right? We're gonna clash. So why would I take all of my hard work that whatever I done, right, and just risk it all for you and you? Why would you take everything you accumulated, right, and risk it all because you think that that's what God intended you to do? When statistically, most marriages end in divorce, more than half. It's a fucking game, dog. It is a game. It's a game that men started. It's a manipulation tactic. Again, the man wrote the book. A man wrote the Bible, right?
As
It's
the
a game.
video just told us, a whole bunch of men
Mhm.
that didn't
The
even
game is
understand
rigged
what they
in
was
our
doing,
favor.
but it was a
It's
good
rigged.
job. Think about it. It's a good
Hmm.
job. You get sunlight through the
Hmm.
windows. You get a spot to sleep. You all eat together. You ain't never missing no meals. You just got to show up in the cafeteria,
Hmm.
and you get some
Hmm.
ink blots on your hand. But it's a good job if you can get it.
Hmm.
And you could only
Hmm.
get the
And then
job
if
if you was a man or appeared as a man. Let me rephrase that. Appeared as a man.
I mean, it's a pretty, like I said, it's a pretty sweet deal, if you're a man. Except once the provider part comes into play. Now, if we going off biblical times, right? We're having a provider, and all you got to do is stay home and raise the kid. No,
I need I need you to put it in half.
no.
I need you to put it in half. In this day and age, a good woman puts it in half. In this day and age, a good woman helps her man get get what we getting. I forget. I forget. But I remember it was the lives of the second husband. I remember looking at him going, I don't prescribe to that religion. I don't know what religion you're trying to share with me, but I don't prescribe to it. I don't do shit except for what I feel like doing. That's it.
That's it. It's just crazy. It's just a fucking scam. And then on top of it, at the end, ain't nothing but 144,000 virgin boys up there anyway. I mean, that would probably be a pretty sweet deal for a woman, but it doesn't include, I could see if the words were said that, okay, women, when you get to heaven, right, there's going to be 144,000 virgin boys for you. I mean, probably from a perverted woman's point of view, I'd probably be like, all right, cool. I mean, at least you get something. Do you know what I'm saying? You get something.
There is nothing more frightening to an experienced woman than a virgin male.
I get it. I feel the same way. That goes back to my point earlier, right? I've never had sex with a virgin, right? And once I got past 18 or 19, to me, it was over. Because I'm like, if that's what I'm gonna do, then I'm gonna go to jail, right? How can a person be in their 40s and inspired for that? There's got to be some sort of pedophilia. I don't know the exact branch or version of it, but it's one of them. Because you ain't logically thinking about no grown people. I mean, there is one out of every billion or so. Okay, yeah, but I don't know who's realistically thinking like that. Mm-hmm.
Me either. Every time I found one, it was by accident. And it was like, I really wish you had told me this months ago because I would not have put in effort. I promise you, I would not have.
Shout out to the first person I was with. Best 2 pumps in my life. Barely even was in. Good. I ain't gonna lie.
My first time, I screamed, pushed, got up, ran away. Like, nope, no, nobody's ever going to convince me that that is a good thing ever. Nope, it's not gonna happen. Nope. And
I wish.
it didn't. It took years, and I do mean years. Matter of fact, over a decade of years for someone to convince me that that act is a good thing and could be pleasurable.
Listen, I wish I was gone in 60 seconds, but that would be grossly exaggerating. Swear. I was like, Dad.
Let me
She was
see.
some bullshit.
Honorable mentions that made it beyond 2 pumps. One of them, he made it to 5 pumps. He made it to 5, but he didn't warn me ahead of time. He just thought he would just surprise me. Hey, I've never done this before. Hey, I can tell. And then the next honorable mention ended up being the father of my children, so I'm gonna leave that one alone because he was in it to win it. He did not want me to know, and I did not know until after the fact. And I had to give him kudos. I did. I had to give him kudos. I was like, you know what? Mad respect, dog. Mad respect. Had I known, I wouldn't have touched you. But you came through. You came through.
Yeah, I told the person I disappointed probably like about 15 years later. She didn't like respond and say no shit like, I knew that, but I'm pretty sure she did. She had to have shit. Everybody knew. Motherfuckers that don't even know about the story know it. That shit happened so fucking fast. It was hot as hell that damn day too. I never forget that shit. Woo-wee. Over.
Man, you was well, at least she didn't have to sweat her hair out. Like, I mean, that's a good thing, right?
I mean, the environment probably did because the damn sure wasn't no air conditioning in the projects.
Oh Lord.
It was at least about 85 that day.
You know what? One day we want to sit down so I can get the details of that because I
just said it. That's the end of the story. It's 2 pumps. Over.
No, there's details.
No, it's not.
There's details you're not thinking of, dog. There's details. I bet you in the comments, if I was to start asking for details, they would understand what I was saying.
I'm telling you, it was 2 pumps. There's no details. It was, and it's not even real. Listen, all right. I consider it 2 pumps, but it would be like if you're doing a push-up, right? And you start from the down position and go all the way up and just let yourself down and be like 2, like 1, 2. It was like that kind of situation. So it was kind of like 2.
But see, you didn't tell her. You didn't tell her. You left because you didn't have the conversation for 15 years. Like, did they leave the neighborhood? Did you leave the neighborhood? Was this your neighborhood? Like, these are the kind of crazy questions I got because I'm nosy.
So I live there, but I wasn't from there.
Okay.
She's from there, and then later on she moved, like a couple months later, and moved way to a different state. Right? I mean, we was in school, like okay, so that was like the beginning of the summer, right? So
right.
3 months later, I had to face her a few months, like walk away, but it was definitely I definitely didn't want to tell anybody. I mean, she was she busted now, but back in the day she was fine. So she was definitely worth bragging about. But I knew that if I was to brag, then she was gonna be like, I don't know why you said nothing about them little 2 pumps because that didn't do shit. So, it was a little bit of that. But once she moved away, I started lying like a motherfucker though. Lying. I told that ass I ain't tear up shit but that condom. They ain't even know how to put on right. That ain't shit. Well, only thing I tore up. They like the motherfucker had a manual on it or something. I'll rip the motherfucker. That's why I ended so fast. I had never felt nothing like that.
Honorable mention: the condom fell off, and the gentleman couldn't find it. And I'm just looking at him dumbfounded, like, what do you mean it fell off? And what do you mean you can't find it? Obviously, I know where it is. I'm gonna go home and get it. But what do you mean you lost it and don't know where it is? Oh yeah, don't tell nobody about this. Please don't, because I'm gonna have to hurt your feelings. Don't tell nobody that this
is crazy. I'm gonna leave that one. That shit crazy. Yeah.
I was
so let's get back
so
on
happy
topic
to grow up. I was
like
so happy to grow up. And yes, yeah, we can. We how long have we been on here? Oh my gosh, an hour and 23 minutes. What? I'm very proud of myself for sitting still that long.
Yeah,
I want you to know that.
I definitely
want you to know that.
It was a discipline. I'm very
I
proud of whoever
know we
lasted
did a
5
terrible
pumps. He's a
job staying
motherfucking man.
on topic. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said I'm proud for a dude who lasted 5 pumps. That's a record. Because like everybody I've ever had a conversation with, like my dudes and shit, like, cause we all be laughing about it now, like, yeah, shit, I barely even got in there, shit. And nobody ever said nothing like past like a good 3. I think 3.5 probably was the record. So shout out to him. He's a god up there with the gods, like Wilt Chamberlain.
Right. And if anybody knows the dude from that story, he did he lasted 5 whole pumps.
That's a record. I almost don't believe him. Like, man,
I was there. 5 whole pumps. First time out the gate.
No. I believe that with your point of view, your perspective. I definitely believe your perspective. But what I don't believe is that from his perspective, he was telling the truth. What I'm saying is, like, I'd be like, bro, you stick the head in before something before, you ain't got out of me. I know you can't last 5. You know what I'm saying? I was telling all the homies I lasted 7 for real, but it was really 1.5, but who counting, you know what I'm saying? So, bro, just tell me the truth, cause but you took some trims. I know you don't know what that is, but you took some trims first or something, man? Took a honey pack or something? That's what I would have thought.
You know what? Now you got me wanting to go back and ask the first husband questions. Now suddenly, after all these years, I got questions.
How about you ain't have to pee? Whew. That's
Of
fucked
course
up.
she said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Please,
Listen to this.
please, please, when the family gets together this summer, please don't let me see my first baby daddy or my only baby daddy. Let me shut up. Please don't let me see the father of my children because now I got questions. And I'm the type I will ask. I ain't got no sense. I ain't got no sense.
Like, look, nigga, somebody told me that you was fucking lying, bro. He told me for you to get them 5 pumps in, motherfucker, you must have took like 3 honey packs. Was y'all under 18 or 19? Oh yeah, that motherfucker took something. Viagra or something. See, no, that shit wasn't out back in the day. That motherfucker did something.
Oh,
He took some
oh my
ginseng or
God.
something.
Oh my
Hit it, hit
God.
it, hit his Uncle White
Oh,
Irish rolls or some shit real quick. You ain't fooling me, nigga. That ain't no dummy.
I was officially grown. I had finally made it to 18. I was officially grown. I had made the magic number of 18.
Cause that first one just be so desperate to come out. I mean, he probably jacked first, but that first one be so desperate to come out that the 5. I don't. Did y'all have twins? Your first kids is twins? Oh, he ain't lying. That's why. That's why. That was that twin shit. That's all that was. He's still up there with the gods.
Now, we need to delete this video. He's gonna be feeling himself now. We gotta
Listen, that's
delete this now.
genetics. That's DNA, man. That's science. I swear for God. All right, bullshit. But yeah, I'm gonna read like a little bit more. So I'm gonna play another video. I'm gonna get up out of here. Bullshit on here a little bit too long. That's fucked up. I'm gonna try to make this a short one. This looks like this is like some more Buddha shit.
Verse 1. Those who are deluded by ignorance create their own threefold mental confirmations in order to cause rebirth and, by their deeds, go through the various forms of life. Verse 2. The consciousness, or vijnana, conditioned by the mental confirmations, establishes itself with respect to the various forms of life. When consciousness is established, name, or nama, and form, or rupa, are infused or become apparent. Verse 3. When name and form are infused or become apparent, the 6 ayatanas, or seats of perception, arise. With the rise of the 6 ayatanas, touch evolves. Verse 4. As in the composite relational nature of the eye and its material form. Verse 5. The harmonious triadic nature of form, consciousness, and eye issues forth touch, and from touch arises feeling. Feeling, in the process of craving, the fourfold seized. Verse 7. When there is clinging perception, the perceiver generates being, or bhavha. When there is no clinging perception, he or she will be freed, and there will be no being. Verses 8 and 9. Beings, old age and death, suffering, etc., misery, grief, despair, and mental disturbance arise from birth. In this manner, the simple suffering attached to the skandhas comes into being. Verse 10. Consequently, the ignorant create the mental confirmations which form the basis of samsaric life. Thus, the ignorant person is the doer, while the wise person, seeing the truth, or tattva, does not create. Verse 11. When ignorance is banished, confirmations do not arise. But the extinction of ignorance is dependent upon the wisdom of practicing the cessation of the 12-fold causal analysis of being. Verse 12. By the cessation of the various links of the causal analysis, each and every subsequent link will not arise, that is, will not become a hindrance, and thus this simple suffering attached to the skandhas is rightfully
overall, that was a bunch of bullshit, but I didn't stop it because it was actually funny. I liked the way that he was talking. He was talking like this, and at the end, and his voice was getting higher and higher and higher. He sounds like he talks like similar to when I'm talking when my sinuses are bothering me, right? It's like his shit is like giving out towards the end, right? And I just wanted to keep listening to him because it's like he was saying that shit in a riddle. But it's more of just like the other video, more Hinduism. Uh, the other day I was on a live stream and I have a TikTok friend. He's real cool. But he's a Hindu atheist, right? And he came up on the panel, and I don't know how it started, right? I don't know how it started because obviously my lives are not based on Hinduism, right? But he got up there, it was me, him, somebody that was being quiet, and these two ladies. Both of the ladies are non-believers, and for some reason, he decided to take it upon himself to start explaining Hinduism to them, right? And they listened for a little bit, a very short time, and they just broke on them after a while. Like, I don't care because I don't believe no Eastern religions, and you know, this, that, and the third. And one thing that stood out from their argument that I would have to somewhat agree with them on is when we talk about these principles that Hinduism has. And a lot of them, I agree with them. I feel like, if you do certain things in your life, good will come to you for the most part, right? But a lot of the stuff that they talk about is just common sense. It could be all summed up as common sense, right? Do unto others as you want them to do to you. Don't harm the next person. Uh, leave people the fuck alone. Just general shit like that. And everything that I just listened to, that's what it means to me.
Yeah. Don't kill either by direct action or inaction. Ooh, that would mess up a lot of governments, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And don't steal. I have a problem with don't steal. As I sit on land that has been stolen from the original owner, I have a problem with Christians in that thing don't steal. I really do. Because I don't think they understand that when they're saying that, they're saying it from the position of the thief.
Right, that's already done did it. So how you gonna say don't take something? It's just like no different than Americans talking to Mexicans. How the fuck are you gonna tell them they're illegal? In what
Right,
sense?
right, right. There's a reason one of our states is called New Mexico. There's a reason that our state Texas is so damn big because they stole land from Mexico. Uh,
You can keep going with that. Do you know why? You know why Texas? You know why there's a such thing called Six Flags?
no.
Because Texas has been six different countries, right?
Oh wow.
So Texas is Tejas. New Mexico is Nueva Mexico, Mexico. Arizona, California, Montana, Colorado, Idaho, right? And so on and so forth. These are Mexican territories that were seized in the 1860s, around the time when the Mormons went there.
So wouldn't it be awesome if Trump is the president that fucked it all up and Mexico took their land back and the Mormons are now Mexican?
But that's tough. And I had a conversation with Jamar about this the other day, right? He told me, and this is a different story, right? He was talking about Hawaii. Remember when we were talking about Hawaii? I told him that his friend is choosing her colonizer, right? That's what you're doing. Because what you're doing is you're choosing the Japanese over the Americans, right? And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but that's what you're doing. And that same instance, can we say that those states really belong to the Mexicans? Because let's do the history on that. There's no such thing as the Mexicans without the Spanish. So let's be real. These are Spanish settlements that the Spanish, literally from Spain, found and named. Utah as well, right? So that's one thing. Let's talk about what's the right word? Etymology. That's the right when you're
Yeah.
talking about words, when it mean where it comes
Yes.
from. Let's talk about that when we talk about the word Mexico, right? What does that mean? The Mexicas, they're a particular group of people, of natives that are from central Mexico
Yes.
that conquered the rest. So let's go back to the original point of the conversation. Can we really say that this area belongs to Mexico or the Mexicans? Or are these people really Native Americans?
I will say this. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it does not belong to the Corporation of America.
That's a
Now,
fact. That's a fact.
who wants to lay claim to it prior to the Corporation of America? I really don't give a fuck. I just don't want it to belong to the corporation anymore. Because the corporation keeps benefiting off the land, but at the same time, it's starving the planet. Does that make sense the way I said it? It's 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 benefiting off the stolen land, but it's using the benefit to shit on the rest of the planet. That's what I got a problem with. So if it fucks over the Corporation of America, I don't care who lays claim to it. Just take it. Just take it. It's yours. Because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt it does not belong to the Corporation of America.
That's true. The Corporation of America also has a lot to do with their DNA. We have to also take something else into consideration that was simultaneously happening during these times as well. And prior to this, right? Prior to this, to us take, not us, prior to the United States seizing these territories, right? From the time that the British got to Connecticut, New England, New York, Virginia, whenever they got from that time on, they've been consistently pushing the natives farther and farther and farther and farther and farther west, right? Before this happened, the Spanish were already there, colonizing, right? Turning this place into New Spain, turning people into Mexicans. Then you got the native tribes coming, even all the way in Arizona. You still have all kinds of native tribes, all kinds, right? So these people are interbreeding amongst each other, which they're Native Americans anyway. So you're making a whole system of complete confusion. I've said this before. I'll say this again. Black people in America, you need to go out west and see for yourself. That will debunk, as soon as you see it, that will completely debunk the Afro indigenous to America shit. Because you will see that these people are naturally from here. Now, I'm not going to say that people from Western Africa didn't come here before colonization. I believe there's a very, 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 very strong possibility of that because of the proximity and because of their intelligence and because of things that we know they have built, because of the jet stream, because of the shark's migrational path, and because of all kinds of things. But for a person to think that black people, as we see, to be from this continent is not true. It's not true. It's not. It's not. It's impossible. I don't think that they from this continent. I know that they walked, because you're not born with the ability to make fire, right? You're not born with clothing. You're not born with shelter. You're born ass naked. So how the fuck can you survive in a continent that we know was frozen and still freezes 4 months out the year? No. Mm-mm. Ain't no way. Ain't no
Very
fucking way.
valid point. Very valid point.
Ain't no way. You have to be taught these things. And it takes thousands of years for human beings to learn how to make fire. Right? Everybody from the other side of the world, whether if they're from Asia,
You ever watch that
Africa.
movie Quest for Fire?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
You gotta watch that movie.
Mm-mm.
What was it? Quest for Fire was one of them. The other one was Clan of the Cave Bear. Those are like the two best renditions of the human learning process, especially when it comes to fire and breathing. Once you see them or you read the book, either way, you can read the book, watch the movie. You still get the idea. Once you see them, yeah, all the colonizers' lies, including the calendars and time and all of that stuff, it all breaks down in your brain. Your brain just
Mm-hmm.
it'll reject it. It'll start seeing clocks and calendars, and your brain will just be like, nope, nope, don't see it, don't note it, nope, doesn't exist.
And then another thing too, right? Have you ever noticed that even when DNA tests are implemented, right? And especially when they're not, right? Everybody that's black that claims to be native or even has traces of native in them or whatever percentage, right? Have you ever noticed it always leans back to the East Coast? Y'all niggas is never Navajo. You never Pueblo, right? You're never none of that. Every DNA test, when I see a black person take a DNA test and then they
Because
show
can't DNA can't do tribes.
it can't, right? So you ever notice? To me, it always ends back in fucking Louisiana, fucking Georgia, Mississippi, fucking Kentucky, all that. They're never nowhere else, right? And that's why I say, if you black and you believe that black indigenous shit, go to Texas or pass, and it's over. It's over with. It's over because you don't have no explanation why there's no black people there except for migration. That's the only explanation you have.
Because I made it as far as Oklahoma. Now my plan was to go even further west. But for some reason, whenever I try to go west, if Murphy's Law can be applied, it somehow shows up. But only if I try to go west. I go north, south, east, I'm great. Gucci. No problems, no issues, nothing. But it's almost like there's an invisible line on the map that just says that I'm not allowed to go west. I know it's in my head. I know it's my imagination. But I will run out of cards, will suddenly shut off. No reason. Just, oops, we don't know what happened, ma'am. We don't know what happened, ma'am. We are sorry for your plight. We're gonna fix it, but your travel is now ruined because your cards are off. What else happened? Cell phone. Cell phone. Never had a problem with my cell phone. Never had a problem paying the bill. Always had a cell phone. This one time, I was dependent on my cell phone for finding whom I was looking for when I went west. I got out of the airport in Arizona for the changeover, and my cell phone was dead. Couldn't figure out what was going on. No, couldn't get a signal. Couldn't text. Nothing. And my husband was like, or the person I was with at the time was like, you just gonna have to come home. But no, I want to go see my friend. You just gonna have to come home. We can send you like next week. We'll reschedule it. Never got rescheduled. I swear to this day that somebody did that on purpose. I can't prove it, but I swear it to this day. But there's like 2 other times I tried to go west. It just never works. I don't know why. That was it. I'm gonna be quiet now.
I just thought of something while you were saying that. No black person has any lineage farther west than Texas, and no black Indian has any lineage farther west than the Louisiana Passage, and that is not a coincidence. It's not. It's
Done on
not
purpose. Done on purpose.
because you only came. Listen, you only came through Louisiana or through the east. You didn't come from the west. There's no existence of you in the west, right? Think about it. It's for a reason. Because Africa ain't that way. It's the other motherfucking way. Common sense.
When
But
did DNA change and start doing the Y chromosome DNA? You know what? I'll let that be my rabbit hole for later today. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm not sure because you know what? One thing I don't understand because I have, and it's because I haven't indulged in it, but I don't fully understand DNA. I just understand that what they're doing is that they're looking at people's relatives and things like that, and they're just making common denominators with them, and I see that, right? And that's why I know that people from like the Caribbean, why their DNA matches certain places and things like that. But I don't understand the whole process. I study
Oh,
it.
maybe we should do that next week or the week after next.
We could because to me, like a lot of people that I follow on TikTok that are scientists and biologists, I let them talk, and every last one of them will agree that science and biology disproves mostly everything that religion has, and they do. So
Right. Because I know they're trying to make up a new bloodline from what's that character's name? Mary Magdalene. And I'd be like, good luck with that. Let me know. If you find her blood in anybody, let me know. Because that's going to be some shit.
but that doesn't that contradict the stories of Jesus? How is he perfect? He fucked her.
Right. And good too. Anyway, there's a comment. I did my DNA. They changed it 3 times. How can somebody change your DNA 3 times? You know what? Let me be quiet because when I had my twins, at first they tried to tell me that I wasn't having twins. Then they tried to tell me that the twins was conceived on different occasions. Then they tried to
How?
the one twin was stealing nutrients from another twin. And you know what? I was like, you know what? Y'all got more stories with these damn twins than any pregnant person I've ever heard in my life. Why do I gotta sit here in the hospital? Why? What is you keeping track of? Why? So that the nurse can come in here and take my blood pressure? Why?
How the fuck you conceive on 2 different occasions? That's the
They
stupidest shit I've
tried.
ever heard.
They tried. They was trying to. That hospital and the doctor was so scared of getting sued because they let me believe for 7 months that I was only carrying one child. So when it came to fruition that okay, no, there's twins in here. There's real. Oh shit, they're identical twins. That means that egg's been split for a minute now. Oh shit. You have not been tracking this pregnancy well at all. We can get in trouble for this. Like, we can get sued. So then they started coming up with, like I told you, bullshit stories of how, when, and where this could occur so that they did not get sued.
Did you know as much about science as you do now then?
Yes.
The second they would have told me that these children were conceived on different occasions, and then I would have found out that they were identical, I would have went to a different doctor. Like, you got me fucked up.
And I did. Yes. I didn't find out about the twins and all of this bullshit until 4 weeks before they were delivered. I literally found out on April Fool's Day, and they were born May 20th. So that's all the time I had to figure all of this out.
And I know that ain't true. You know how I know that ain't true? That they stupid? From watching Maury. I know that it is possible to have twins by two different people, but they have to be fraternal, and it has to be in a very short time frame. And I ain't never heard of a person having twins that are fraternal that were impregnated at different times by the same person. I ain't never heard that.
Right.
That's dumb.
Thank you.
That's dumb as fuck.
But
You
they
might
were
well split.
grasping for straws. They were like, just don't sue us, please. And that's how I got my $500,000 babies for free. That's how I got my $500,000 babies for free.
Right, because that don't even add up for me. And like I said, I don't know how genetics work. I don't know how DNA works. But I know that though. That don't make sense. But we done been on here almost 2 hours. I'm yawning. This chair always makes me so fucking sleepy for some reason.
Right. And I didn't have coffee today. All I had was my smoothie that I made with my oat milk and fruit. So I'm hungry again.
Yeah, me too. I'm probably gonna make some shrimp, but I just don't want my house smelling like that shit. That'd be blowing it.
Why would you not want your house to smell like shrimp? Shrimp is good. I don't understand.
It's okay for that day. It's
Oh,
cool today. You know?
You mean like when you fry chicken and you still smell it 3 days later?
Hell yeah. And then look, okay, so what I got on right now, say I cook the shit right now, right? I'm gonna have to take a shower and change my clothes. And if the clothes is in the vicinity of where I was cooking the shit at, it's a wrap. I ain't trying to
See,
go
I
out like
knew
that.
that there was a reason that I did good with my daughter because she enjoys cooking. She actually enjoys that shit. Like she gets up in the morning and begins her day with, what am I going to cook? I'll be looking at her amazed. Like, I can't believe I gave birth to a woman that enjoys cooking. What the But I be eating good. I be eating so good. I'm gonna get so fat while I'm here. I'm gonna miss it when I'm not here. I'm gonna be sitting back going, I I want to eat, but there's nobody here to feed me. Who's gonna feed me? I need somebody to feed me.
I'm gonna have to give your baby dad the credit. First, he lasted 5 pumps, then he made a child that can cook. Hero! But I want to thank everybody for sitting here listening to me talk stupid all day. Thank you, NJ, for stopping by. Catch us again next week on Faith, Lies, and Confusion. If not, definitely catch me Wednesday or Thursday this week on AAA Sports Podcast. We'll be on there for sure. We've had a couple weeks off, but we'll definitely be back. Today I actually have an interview. Well, not interview, but a pod. I really don't even know what it's about. But my guy, Black V, aka Jamar Harris, person who brought me in this shit. He asked me to come on, so I'm assuming it's probably something about religion or politics or some shit like that. So I'll be back on here at 5. I actually have forgot about that for a little bit, but if not, catch me again next week. Thank you again, NJ, for coming up with the show title and for stopping by. Thank you, Unkindness, for your comments and stopping by. And good night.